Hi, I'm Dave Smith for Police One, and this is Roll Call Reality Training. Well, today let's go to a video from Austin, Texas, where you're going to see how quickly a situation can deteriorate into a life and death struggle. Officer Armando Perez sees a foot chase going on. It turns out to be a security officer from a hotel in foot pursuit of a vehicle burglary suspect. Now, as our officer approaches, well, let's just watch what happens. It's a rather short video, and then let's discuss the points.
Hey, get on the service camera. What are you doing? What are you doing? The window in his parking garage right here. Lift your hand. Lift your hand. Lift your hand. Give me 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 your hand. Oh, come on, man. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Oh, good.
Okay, it's a situation. You see the security officer telling our officer exactly what he has, a car burglary suspect. They go to resist, the suspect begins to resist during the cuffing process, and look how quickly it deteriorates into a shooting.
Good one. They have been shot hard.
Now here again, this reminds us just the spontaneous assault, and it seems to be more and more common nowadays. Number one, just the fact that people seem to be willing to resist officers' lawful commands and lawful arrest is becoming more and more mundane day to day. We have to have our mind right about that. We also have to be ready for subjects. Now this guy, the suspect, Darren Martin, is a career criminal in terms of car burglaries. That's he does car busts. That's all he does. He has no violent past, no violent history, yet on this day he's packing a firearm. And this is one of the feedback I hear from a lot of officers nowadays is they're arresting suspects for property crimes but are often packing firearms. Now, I don't know why. This is something a trend we'll have to keep an eye on. But for you out there on the street, you have to keep that in the back of your mind. You want to quickly gain control of a subject, and then let's do a thorough search. Remember, the rule of +1, I'm expecting to find a firearm in that suspect. And boy, if this little short video today didn't hammer that in your mindset, I'm going to be prepared. Now, the officer is hit in this shooting below his vest. And again, this is a Marine law enforcement officer. He's got his mind right. He knows he's hit, but he fires 3 rounds, 2 of which fatally strike the suspect, and the suspect is just dead right there. Now the thing is that we have to understand we're prepared for when we get wounded. We're going to do our tactical breathing. We're going to initiate first aid or self-aid if necessary. Ironic thing here is, though, that our young officer carried with him a combat bandage in his shirt. The bullet strikes it, and it deflects it away from the midline of his body as he's hit just below his body armor. Now, I'm glad to tell you that the officer is back on the job today, but he did suffer some trauma. I mean, obviously, you're getting shot. That's going to really hurt you. But by him being prepared to be hurt or have one of his brothers or sisters hurt or just generally to help a civilian as necessary with that combat bandage, he was ready to go, and it actually saved him prior to the bullet doing any real damage. The bullet prevented damage. The bandage, prevented the bullet from doing more damage. Very ironic situation. So you have an officer who's mentally prepared, an officer who's tactically prepared, strategically prepared, and knows in the right mindset. And then you have a suspect that suddenly wants to shoot him. Now, the debate would be among defensive tactics trainers who say, well, you should immediately penetrate. The problem is you can do hands-on because it's closer to the subject. But as you can see, the control has deteriorated, and suddenly the handgun is there. Now, this can happen to any of us, and this is why we have to have our mind right. We're going to be goal-oriented. I'm going to win this confrontation. You may make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But the point is that you saw this officer didn't hesitate, defended himself, and again, he was ready to give himself self-aid. Now, this is the kind of thing that I want you to think about today when you go out there on patrol. Think about the fact that any situation can suddenly escalate. We don't want you out there afraid. We want you out there prepared. This is why you're going to have your tactical medical kit with you. Whenever you go on situations, that should be in your vehicle ready to rock and roll. And we don't just give first aid to ourselves. We give it to our brothers and sisters, that buddy aid that's so critical. So have your mind right. Be prepared for anything to deteriorate in a split second. And just like our officer did here, when you have to use deadly force, spontaneously, quickly, he retreats to cover, but by then he's actually already won the gunfight. Okay, now we've seen the situation where we have an officer mentally, tactically, physically prepared for a confrontation. He wins. And that's what I want you to be prepared to do. Mentally win these situations. This is a really good video for you to sit down with your squad and talk about the kind of things you would do, how you would react, how you're mentally prepared for exactly this kind of thing. And then do visualizations when you're driving around. What would I do if? What would I do when? And then be prepared for that when-then situation, because you're going to go out there and win. And I want you to practice your tactical medical. Refresh yourself again on the first aid techniques you do both for self-aid and administering to your brothers and sisters.